It's Powerback time on the Gutsy podcast, your 20-minute boost to reclaim and refocus your energy. Get ready to have bursts of clarity, a boost of confidence, and the practical steps you need to make gutsy moves forward. You've got big things to do, so let's get your power back. We're celebrating 500 episodes of the Gutsy podcast by taking you behind the scenes. In this Powerback episode, I'm going to tell you what you don't see, the unfiltered truth behind what it took to create 500 episodes, answering some of the most burning questions that I've received along the way. Questions like, how do you handle the pressure to consistently create content? How are you putting out 2 episodes a week? How long does it take to record and publish an episode? And have you ever wanted to quit? And what did you do to get out of that funk? And you know something? I get pitched a lot for guests to come onto the show. And I'm going to share 2 of my pet peeves when people apply. So if you've ever wondered what it takes to create a top 1.5% global podcast, my friend, this is your chance to learn. By the way, I absolutely freaking love making this podcast, sharing this information with you, having side conversations. And I got to tell you, one of the things that brings me the most joy is when I truly hear from you, whether that's through your DMs, whether that's leaving a review on Apple Podcasts. Sometimes I get emails. I genuinely read every single word that is sent my way. Because if you have taken the time to acknowledge the show and share with me how it's impacted your world, I'm going to take every ounce of those moments and read every word. So if you ever are like, oh, I'd love to reach out, but I don't know if she's going to get it, or I want to leave a review, but I don't know that it really matters. It matters. Specifically the reviews, because it helps other amazing women like you find the show, to go through and say, yes, this is the type of content that I'm looking for. This is the kind of vibe that I'm looking for. And you know the impact of the show, whether it's been 1 episode you've listened to or you've listened to all 500 of them, you know what's possible when you start to believe in yourself, you have the guidance and simplified support. So my request of you today, if you've not done so already, could you please go to Apple Podcasts or Spotify or wherever you listen and leave a review? That small but incredibly profound gutsy move helps to impact women around the world. All right, so let's get into this. I thought it would be kind of fun to take you behind the scenes, like to show you the things that you don't normally see, really unfiltered truth behind 500 episodes. And I have to kind of laugh for a second because I put the title Unfiltered Truth in the title and I laughed about it because I'm like, Laura, everything you say is fucking unfiltered. But I just really want you to know, like, this is the raw shit behind the scenes. This is what it's taken to get here. This is part of my process. These are some of the questions that I get on a regular basis. And it's kind of funny because sometimes people will glance through Apple Podcasts and be like, oh, it's episode 250. How are we at 500? Well, way back in the day, back in 2019 when I launched the show, and if you didn't already listen to episode 250 just earlier this week, I go through the backstory of where the podcast came from and how the green couch was involved and all that stuff. So definitely go back and listen to that one. But back when I launched the show and I decided I was going to do 2 episodes a week, I thought, well, maybe I'll keep it simple and keep it the same number, but I'll have Tuesdays episodes as a guest and I'll have Thursdays as the Powerback. So each week, 2 episodes go out, but they're the same number. So whatever number we're on, you can times that by 2 because that's how many episodes. So that's how we're on Powerback 250, but we're celebrating 500 episodes. In fact, this is episode 501. Another fun fact, I own the word Powerback. I have a registered trademark on the word Powerback, all one word. As I was growing the show and this was really starting to gain traction, I thought, it's really important to protect your assets. And since Powerback episodes have become probably one of the most prominent parts of this show, I'm like, I need to protect this shit. Okay. So I filed for a trademark. It takes forever in a day. If you've ever gone through that process, if you've not, it takes months. I think it was probably the better part of 8 or 9 months before it was turned into a registered trademark. So I own the word Powerback. And that's why you will often see the little R with the circle around it when I put up episodes. I've pulled together some questions that I've received along the way through DMs, through emails, through general conversations, because people are just generally interested in what happens behind the scenes, because by the time the episode has gotten to you, a lot of work has gone into it. I mean, you're hearing the final, finished, polished, edited, perfected to the best of its ability episode. And one of the questions that I get is, how long does it take to plan an episode, to record it, to publish, to get it into our ears? Like, what is the process like behind that? Now, this is not a perfect science, but generally speaking, however long a finished episode is, right? Like, so if you are listening to a Powerback that is 25 minutes, if you times that by 3, that's typically about how long it takes for us to produce an entire episode, very start to absolutely published. I've gotten so much better at that. Back in the day, like episodes 1 through 10, each episode literally took me 3 to 5, sometimes 6 hours to record, because I'm like, holy shitballs. I have to script all of this. I have to write all of this. I have to plan all this. I was worried about how I was talking and what my tone was like. I am certain if you listen back to the early episodes, I'm probably talking a little bit higher no. Okay, no. I have learned so much about myself and my voice behind this. So I have reduced how long it takes. And one of the other questions I'm going to piggyback into this is, do you script out your episodes? No. I do not script it out. In fact, each episode I take about, I would say 20, sometimes 30 minutes, and I prep the episode, meaning what are the high points that I want to talk about? What are the bullet points? Are there some key metrics that I want to share? Is there a specific message that I want to dig into? It helps me to just really kind of create the flow of the episode. And it helps to make sure that I am conveying everything that I'm wanting to convey to you through the episode. So 1 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper, sometimes front and back with some scribbled notes on it. I wish I could show you. My desk is full of these things. I mean, those alone are a book in the making. So do I plan for the episode? Absolutely. Do I script it? No. I'm not sitting here just reading. I am, honestly, I channel a lot. Like sometimes when I'm recording, it's like an outer body experience. I'm tapped into, you can call it my higher self, into the universe, into wherever. Like sometimes I almost black out a little bit in a good way. Okay. There's nothing wrong here, but I'm so in it and I'm so in alignment that the words come to me and I get to share with you like just the rawest of truth. And when I really started to tap into this method, gosh, I don't even remember how far into the podcast this really started happening. It took me less time to record because I'm not perfecting it. I'm not going back over every episode with a fine-tooth comb. I'm really just allowing myself to communicate as if you and I were sitting at a coffee shop, or if we were on a road trip somewhere, or sitting on the beach having a conversation. So from the time an episode begins, meaning I'm getting out a sheet of paper to start, to the time that it is landing on your phone on a notification, it's about 3 times the amount of the finished episode time. So a lot of guest interviews tend to be about 50 minutes. You can triple that. And part of the reason for that is there's a lot of planning in the beginning, right? I do have to sit down. I'm very intentional about the information that I'm sharing with you. I don't want to wing it. I don't want to blow smoke up your ass. I don't want to just fill up your inbox with more shit. Like I want this episode to actually impact you in some way. I want it to call you forward. I want it to activate you. I want it to build even an ounce of confidence in you so you can make that next move, so that you can find some clarity. Maybe you gain an aha moment. So the planning is part of that. Then we go into recording. And recording, even though a Powerback might be 25 minutes, I don't just record it start to finish the whole way through, because sometimes my voice does dumb shit, or I forget my words, or I fumble over myself. So a lot of times I'm using a program called Logic, and a lot of times I am recording, but then I have to stop it and I have to go back and retake it. There are takes, there are adjustments. A lot of times I need a hot beverage with me. That's something I've really learned as a speaker, is that hot beverages help to not just coat, but also relax the vocal cords. So I'm drinking a hot drink and I'm fumbling. Some days are better than others. Sometimes the information just flows through and I knock it out. And other days I fight myself. Sometimes I have to actually get up and walk away because I'm like, what the fuck is actually wrong with my voice right now? Where are my words? Or extra fun fact of the day, I am a long time sufferer of migraines, and the particular type of migraine that I have tends to mimic a stroke. And that will often, when active, make me slur my words. So if you listened very carefully, there are probably a handful of episodes where you could hear that. Almost like, is Laura maybe a little bit drunk right now? No, I actually don't drink anymore. But sometimes stuff like that causes me to have to stop. Or, sometimes I go in with the intent to record and my body's like, no, we're not. Not today. I don't have the ideas. The migraine is active. It's just not flowing the way I want it to. So no two recording days are the same. Sometimes I plow through it with ease, and other days it's like, climbing an uphill battle. So what happens then? I get the episode recorded. Then it needs to go on. Okay. It's not ready yet for you to listen to it because a couple of things have to happen. First, I used to have external team members that helped us edit and publish the episodes. So we worked with an editor who cleaned up the episodes. We worked with a podcast publishing company who wrote the show notes and put the graphics together and scheduled it on social media and all that great stuff. And those were two phenomenal partners that we worked with for a very long time, years. I'm talking like 4 or 5, probably 5 years, maybe even longer than that. Well, we don't have those partners anymore. And not because there was anything wrong, but I made the decision to leave my agency. When I did that, I essentially started all over again in business. I'm not new to business, but I was new to my complete focus on speaking and coaching. And as part of that transition was adjusting financially to support this new beginning. And as much as I absolutely freaking hated to do it, we had to take those things back on internally, simply for financial reasons. And listen, I get it. You need to outsource so that you have the time to focus on things. Listen, if you've ever run a business or been in charge of something where you've had to pull back, you know that sometimes you just have to get into the trenches. Believe me, the second that I'm able to outsource some of the stuff again, it's going to be one of the very first things. But for this season in my business right now, we do all of that internally now. And I say we because my amazing husband, who is listening to this right now as he is editing, learned how to edit my podcast so that we could save money. Friend, if he wanted to, he would. Okay. This man showed up. He's like, that's something that I can learn. It's a technical skill. It's an area where like his brain functions. Listen, if I had to edit the audio, you all would not have a podcast. I know where my skills lie. I know where I can take things on and still be pretty okay. Editing audio, not one of those things. But he figured out how to do it. He downloaded a program. He taught himself how to edit. And that's what he does. He cleans up the audio. He takes out the ums and the who's and the whats and some of the confusion, or when me or a guest screws something up on the back end, or a dog's barking somewhere, right? He edits the audio so that by the time you get it, it sounds full and it sounds complete. That also takes time, right? So however long the episode is, you gotta figure he's listening to the whole episode very intently, and then he's pausing to make edits along the way. Then, in a typical fashion, it would go off to the podcast manager, who would then do the rest of this. But, like I said, and I'm being very transparent here, now it's coming back to me. Okay, your girl is using her old graphic design skills here, because when it comes back to me, I am gathering the show notes for the show. So the bullet points and what the show is about, and gathering the links so that you connect with the guest or whatever product that I'm sharing with you or inviting you to join. I'm creating the graphics that you then see in the reels that pop up on your feed. And I gotta tell you, the graphic design background comes in handy more often than not. Okay, like I don't love to do it for other people anymore, which is why I don't. But I do love having that skill to be able to handle those things on my own. We create the audiogram, which is a little audio clip with the graphic that you get to see online. If it's a guest episode, we have to gather the information and the links and the graphics to be able to share with them. There's just like a whole ecosystem behind this, right? Like we use a software called Monday.com, and it allows us to keep track of the episode, where it's at in the process, what the launch date is, who's in charge of what, who's working on what. We've got automations set up so that like once AJ finishes editing, it pings me to know to come back in and do the graphics. Like we've been very intentional about setting up a system that works pretty seamlessly, that helps keep us on pace. Once all those things are done, then AJ finishes things by getting it ready to go up onto Buzzsprout. So Buzzsprout is our podcast host. That is where we upload the episode, we upload the show notes, and then Buzzsprout is like the hub that then pushes out the episode to Apple Podcasts and Spotify and Amazon Music and all the players, the big ones, the little ones, and everything in between. As that's happening, we are writing and scheduling out social media posts so that we can notify you. Also, there's a newsletter, right? Like, see, there's just a lot of pieces. This is why it's triple the amount of the finished episode time, because all of these pieces have to be done. The marketing aspect of this is really important because if you don't know about the episode, how are you going to know to listen to the episode? How are you even going to know that it's available? So the newsletter is important because it gives you direct links. It gives you a little tiny blurb about what the episode's about. And social is social. It's just a necessary thing. That's the behind the scenes of actually creating an episode for you. I probably went into more detail than I was originally going to, but I think it's important for you to understand what actually goes into creating an episode. And especially if you're thinking about hosting a podcast or starting something like this on your own, it's important to know that running a podcast is like a full-time job. And that's one of the other questions that I get is, how do you handle the pressure to consistently create content? Well, honestly, there's a couple of things that are wrapped up into this. First, I don't feel pressure to consistently create because I create with intention now. Back in the early days, I definitely felt pressure when there weren't as many guests coming and I was scrounging around trying to find people. When I was putting out a lot of content on social media and on the podcast and just in all these different places, like it became a lot. And so now even with social media, I'm not just putting out a bunch of shit to check a box. Like if I don't have anything to say, I'm not going to put anything out. I've let go of the pressure and the expectation that I have to constantly create to like satisfy or to be received. And instead I focus on what works, what brings me joy, and where do I feel most called to guide and to serve. And the podcast is one of those things. And a lot of times people are like, how the hell do you put out 2 episodes a week? Like what is happening? How are you doing that? How are you fitting that into your life? And honestly, the guest episodes are super easy because I'm basically having a conversation. I'm not saying it's easy because there's no work to do, but it's recording a great conversation. And I'm very fortunate enough now to be in a place where I have an abundant amount of people that are interested in being on the show. In the beginning, not so much. Over time, it's gotten easier. But those are often recorded out 3, 4, sometimes 5 months in advance. And that's really helpful because then I have a bank, right? Like I have content ready to go and I'm not scrounging in the background. The Powerback episodes are solo. It's just me and you. And I've not gotten quite as good about being ahead of schedule with those. I'm going to be honest, I still tend to be a little bit reactive. And I'm really going to tell on myself here. Sometimes I operate really well in the 11th hour. I don't love to be there, but I often find myself there. So learning how to balance my time and to make intentional time in my calendar to be able to record has been really such a game changer for me. Like when I record guest episodes, I only record on Tuesdays. Tuesdays are my podcast day. I used to allow Wednesday evening and Friday morning and Tuesday halfway in the night. And it's like, okay, no. First of all, everyone's in control of my schedule. I'm not in control of it. Second of all, it's like a zone, right? Like it's a zone of genius. I get really focused. I'm locked in with what I'm doing. And when I'm in podcast mode, I'm in podcast mode, and doing it all over the place just does not work for my brain. The other thing that I want to say about the pressure to consistently create is I don't feel pressure because this is my calling. Okay. I don't expect anybody to keep up with my cadence. Like, we all run our own businesses. We all operate differently. We all lead differently, whether in our home or in our career. And so I never, ever have an expectation for someone to quote unquote keep up with me, because this is what my calling is. For somebody that it's not their calling to speak or to produce or to put out content, the way that I do things would be, it would crush somebody. And that's such a really important thing to understand, is not everything works for everybody. And it shouldn't, because we all have different paths and we all have different callings. I'm here to speak and to teach. It's literally in my astrology. It's in my human design. It's in every fucking personality test that I've ever taken in my life. And outside of those technical things that I can see on paper, I know it in my body. Speaking is easy for me. Creating content is easy for me. Getting on video is easy for me. Easy now because I've had to work through the early kinks, but it flows through me because I'm on purpose. I'm living in alignment, and this is my vehicle to share the information. Here's a different example of this. We live in an area where there are a ton of farmers markets. There are a ton of stands at farms where you can get vegetables and local honey and fresh grown fruit and pick fresh flowers. And anytime we go to these places, my thought is, oh my God, I could never get up at 4 a.m. and milk the cows. I could never be out there every single day, tilling the garden and picking vegetables and cleaning things off and all this stuff. I'm like, I could never do that. And then I stop and think to myself, Laura, these people love what they do. This brings them joy. It's easy for them. They're connected to their work. They have a bigger purpose when they do this. I'm literally getting to enjoy the fruits of their labor, like actual fruits of their labor. Just because I don't think it's a great time doesn't mean that they don't. This is why it's so important to acknowledge and really own what it is that you want and what you're great at, what you feel called to, what you feel drawn to. Because when you do that, it's effortless. Not saying it's always easy, not saying I always want to do it. There are definitely days where I'm like, I don't want to say a single word. But from a majority standpoint, this is my life's calling. This is the work I'm intended to do. So I'm going to let those amazing farmers continue to do the work that they do because I get to enjoy what they create. And I'm going to continue to do the work that I do so that you can continue to enjoy the work that I create. So tag your turn to keep doing the thing that you do so people in your world can enjoy the things that you create. Another question I get is, where do you get your ideas for episodes? Like they always hit right. Oh my gosh, more times than not, I will get messages that is like, how were you in my brain? How did you know that's what I needed to hear right now? How did you know that that's what I was experiencing? And honestly, I don't know that I've ever said this before. Maybe I have. I published intuitively. It is not uncommon for me to record an episode and to look when it's going to publish and be like, no, this one needs to go 3 weeks later. Or I'll be sitting here stumped. I'm like, I don't know what to put out next week. I'm not sure what the right content. And then something will like strike me like it's a lightning bolt. And I'm like, oh, somebody needs to hear this. And then it just becomes this very fluid flow out of my mouth. And I'll get a message. 9 times out of 10, I'll get a message. How the fuck did you know that I needed that today? I also build the Powerback episodes based off of real conversations that I've had. These sometimes come from conversations that we've had inside the Gutsy collective. Sometimes they are conversations that we've had inside of Aura the Mastermind. Sometimes it's a question or a problem or just something insightful that someone has shared with me on a clarity session call. Sometimes it's from a meeting. Sometimes it's from coffees with friends. Like, I don't know. I'm very good at hearing the information and absorbing it in a different way. Like, oh, I can like see the whole picture with this. And there's one lightning bolt strike in there. There's one conversation. There's one word or question or phrase or topic that I know the Gutsy collective listeners need today. And lived experiences. A lot of the content comes off of shit that I've done wrong, lessons that I've learned the hard way, ways that I've learned how to simplify something, a craptastic thing that I've gone through and I've figured out a way through. So I want to turn around and help you through. You know, I share a ton of vulnerable stories. I share stupid shit that I've done. My intent and my focus is always to share the real and the raw. Like, we are humans. We are all having human experiences. And so I'm consistently absorbing human experiences. I'm listening to what is relevant. And I want to know, how can I take this and turn it into a learning moment? How can I teach my audience how to get through this, how to work through this, how to gain this, how to move forward? I'm not here to waste your time. I'm here to guide you. I'm here to help you make that move, to change your life for the better. And one of the best ways to gain that information is to pay attention to what's going on in my own life and to pay attention to what's going on in yours. Another question I've gotten is, have you ever wanted to quit? And if so, why did I keep going? I've wanted to quit this show more times than I have fingers to count on. You know, it's evolved over the years. When I first started it, I owned a branding agency. I had a staff of probably 4 or 5 people on my team. I was in a totally different phase of my life. I've grown through that. We went through COVID. I mean, there's a handful of episodes that I recorded solo during COVID that were like so raw. There were a few phases where I was completely burnt out. I was uninspired. I felt like I ran out of information to say or to share. Seasons where I was just simply tired and I just didn't want to do anything. Seasons where I was busy as shit and I didn't feel like I had time. I mean, there are so many times where I'm like, I don't know that I should keep doing this podcast. And honestly, one of the things that I've contemplated quite a few times is like, does this show even matter? Like, the weird thing about podcasting is it's a one-sided conversation. Like, I don't get to sit with you as you're listening to it. I don't get to see the expression on your face. I don't get to see you furiously writing things down. I don't get to see the spark in your eye when you have an enormous fucking aha moment. And I crave that connection. And so anytime that I've felt disconnected or wondering, does this matter? Does this help anybody? Is anybody listening? Like, I can look at the downloads, right? I can see that you're listening, but I can't like see that you're listening. You know what I mean? And I got to tell you, anytime that I have felt that way, lo and behold, I will get a message 100% out of the blue that tells me how a particular episode changed someone's life. An aha moment, a moment of clarity, a letdown, ability to express an emotion. I figured something out while I was listening, and it literally brings tears to my eyes because I'm like, thank you, universe, for confirming that 1, my voice matters. 2, yes, people are listening. And 3, it's being received. It does matter. So the things that have kept me going are, 1, taking a break, right? A couple of years ago, I took a break. Like, I took the summer off the first time in, I think, 5 years. I took a couple of months off on the podcast and I was terrified. I'm like, you guys aren't going to listen anymore. Nobody's going to come back. Everyone's going to hate me. The show's going to be dead in the water. You're all here. Thank you. And I love you. I've also taken breaks in smaller chunks where, like, this week we got behind, something didn't work out. I was running all over the place. I said yes too many times and I didn't make time for recording. I can either burn myself out and work into the night to get an episode out just to say that it's out this week, or I can skip this week and I can go to the next week. And you know something? Everything's going to be okay. Staying inspired by my work, really talking the way that I want to talk, using my authentic voice, using my quirkiness, using my cuss words, like, all of this keeps me going. I'm often saying things like this is my little corner of the internet and it's my house. And I'm going to talk the way I talk. I'm going to show up the way that I show up. And the right people will continuously come back. I am certain that I have scared away some people. I mean, I could almost throw down $100 bill on that. But I also know that the numbers are growing. The amount of listeners are growing because I see it. I have analytics. I can see your beautiful faces. It might be through a number, but I can see that you're here. And so it's this concept of when you are your truest self and you shine that beacon up, you attract the right people always. So staying true to that helps me to keep going. And your messages. I'm telling you, I need you just as much as you need me. Getting those messages are life-changing to me. Getting a random review on a Tuesday afternoon lights my fucking world up. So again, if you're ever questioning, does this matter? Is she even going to read this email or this DM? Yes, I'm going to read it. And it's probably going to be exactly what I need in that moment too. Another fun question is, how did you get celebrities on the Gutsy podcast? And I've had a handful of big names on the show. Marcus Lemonis from CNBC's show The Profit. I've had Tori Dunlap from her first 100K. I've had Jason Pfeiffer, the editor-in-chief of Entrepreneur Magazine. A couple of big name people, and they were all in the same season. And people are like, how did you get them on the show? And it's actually quite simple. I asked them. Now, I may have need to ask them like a lot of times. I asked Marcus a lot of times. But eventually, he said yes. I caught him in the right place. At the time, he was super active on Twitter. And Damon John from Shark Tank put up a tweet that said, if you could interview anybody, who would it be and why? And I jumped immediately on it. I tagged Marcus and he responded and he said, I will give you 15 minutes. And I think by the time it was all said and done, I think I got 17 minutes with him. So I'm going to take that as a double win. But I was persistent. I asked him. I knew why I wanted him on the show. It was really important to me. We shared similar values in growing and supporting small businesses. So I asked, and he eventually said yes. Same with Tori, same with Jason. So the moral of the story here is if you don't ask, the answer is always no. And it might take a little longer than you would like it to, but eventually the right opportunities will align. Another thing that I promised to answer, this is a pet peeve. Okay. I get a lot of pitches. Again, very grateful because there was once a day where nobody wanted to be on the show, or at least nobody knew about the show enough to want to be on it. But there are two things that I'm like, if we could just fix these two things, I don't mind the pitching process. I don't mind reading through the applications. I personally read every single application that comes through. I'm not vetting that out. Like if I'm interviewing you, there's got to be synergy. There's got to be interest, and your topic and your focus has to speak to my audience. Like I protect you all like immensely. For instance, based off of the numbers and the downloads, episodes around like technical aspects of business or back-end marketing or like funnels and stuff, you guys don't give two shits about. They are the lowest episode downloads. And so if I know that you don't love them, I'm not saying that everybody doesn't love them. I'm just saying the majority of you don't. If no one's really listening to them, it's doing you a disservice by giving you content that you don't want. And it's doing the speaker that's coming on a disservice by putting it in front of a market that's not interested in their offer. So I'm very intentional about this stuff, okay? The two things that I would love to fix though is first, getting email pitches. Like someone finds my email and sends me a pitch. And the only reason that this bothers me is because it is so incredibly clear and easy. If you go to thegutsypodcast.com and you scroll down the page, there is the application to apply. I don't know, sometimes people think that they can bypass that to get straight to me, if they can like bump themselves up on the list. Maybe they just didn't take the time to go to the website to even look, but it's a button. It's not hidden. It's not a scavenger hunt. I'm not like making you go through the fucking horse and pony show. So I spend a lot of time redirecting people through that application because you have to go through the application process for me to review it. I do not approve people through emails. You have to go through the application because that application has very strategic questions on it to help me gauge if you're the right fit or not. The second one that I would love to recommend to anybody that is applying is when people fill out the application, there's a place to upload a headshot, your photo. This is the picture I'm going to use when we market your episode. The amount of times that people do not name their file, what their name is or what their business name is mind-blowing to me. So it's like headshot _JPEG or 74397 _JPEG. And the reason that's annoying is because if I select you to be on the show and I download your headshot, I have to rename it and put it in the folder so that I can easily find it and locate it and use it later. I realize that's a small thing, but when I'm approving, 10 to 20 people at a time, and I have to do this over and over and over again, it takes time. So if you're applying anywhere to speak, if you are submitting your headshot to anything, whether it's, to join a group or you're speaking somewhere, you're getting on a podcast, you're applying for a new job and they want a headshot or whatever the case is, if you're sending your headshot, please, for the love of all things mighty, name it what your name is. It makes everything for the person receiving it so much easier. Okay, that was my TED Talk on those two things. The last question that I'm going to answer here today, I could tell you all kinds of shit. So if there's something you want to know, just message me. But the last one I'm going to answer here today as we're celebrating 500 episodes is, what have I learned about myself through creating now 501 episodes? And I'll tell you, there isn't anything that I haven't learned about myself. This podcast really helped me to grow my voice. It's what helped me to figure out when I was filtering, when I was shying away, when I was putting on my customer service voice. It just really showed me what I loved and what I didn't love. It helped me to develop my own unique tone, or maybe rather even own my own unique tone, because I've always been like this. Now I'm just gutsy enough to use it. It's taught me that my own unique style matters, that people gravitate towards it, the right people gravitate towards it. And there is a ripple effect that I will probably never really truly see or understand. And I'm okay with that. It's taught me about self-discipline, having to make time, carving time into my schedule, being intentional about my boundaries with when I will and will not record things. It's taught me how to be proactive, how to stay on top of things, how to not end up in the 11th hour and being a turd about my schedule. It's also taught me about some really amazing people around the world. I've interviewed people all throughout the US, Europe, Australia, South Africa, so many different places. And I've learned about the way that people live and the way they work in different cultures. It's kept me connected with what's happening around the world. It's taught me things that I didn't even know existed. So it's just broadened my perspective on everything, not just about myself, but around other women around the world. I'm very proud and very intentional about having diversity shown on this show. Different voices from different walks of life from all around the world, different ages, races, sexual orientations. It's really truly shown me that people genuinely want the same thing: to be healthy, to be happy, to be connected, to do the things that they love to do, to have peace in their life, and to do all those things alongside other amazing people that love and appreciate them for who they are. So where do we go from here? I don't know. I'm rolling with this. I'm not putting limitations on it. I'm not saying how many episodes I will or will not do, but I can tell you it's fucking not going anywhere. If anything, it's going to get louder and prouder, even more intentional. I'd love to do some stuff in person. I'd love to see you. Hell, who knows? Maybe there's some kind of Gutsy conference in the making. That's been a thought brewing for probably 10 years. But you know something? I just truly, genuinely want to say thank you. Thank you for showing up here. Thank you for listening to me gab on week after week. Thank you for hearing the information and taking what resonates for you. Thank you for believing in yourself, for making time to listen, because that tells me that you're prioritizing yourself. And sure, you might be multitasking. You might be putting away the dishes. You might be walking on the treadmill. You might be driving to work or on a commute somewhere, but you're still doing it. You're showing up for yourself. You're making those gutsy moves. You're moving things along, whether it feels like it's going at snail's fucking pace or you are running a marathon. You're here and you're doing it. And none of this would be possible if you weren't. I couldn't continue to create content for a show with no listeners. I would not have achieved the milestone of a top 1.5% podcast without you listening. I never would have been featured on Amazon Music or in the top charts on Apple Podcasts without you listening. Good Pods would not have me ranking on a weekly basis in their top podcasts without you listening. So thank you, truly, from the bottom of my heart for being here. I love you. Even though I can't fucking see you, I can feel you. And I believe in every ounce of who you are and every ounce of your possibility. It's been so much fun recording this episode with you, to relive the last 500 episodes with you, sharing the origin story of the podcast and the Green Couch Project in the 500th episode. All of this has really made me just stop and love and appreciate every word that has gone into this, every ounce of effort, every tear that has been shed, every question that has been asked. I wouldn't change it for the world. In fact, my ass is going to keep doing it. If you're feeling called towards it, I would just big puffy heart love and appreciate if you could leave a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. And my friend, as always, until I see you next time, stay gutsy.